And welcome back to Daily Wrap. Well, California Governor Jerry Brown just signed into law a bill legalizing doctor-assisted deaths. It's called ABX 2-15, or the End of Life Option Act. It's a slightly different law than what's currently in place in 4 other states in that it includes more safeguards to ensure that no one's life is lost through a mistake or abuse. In a statement released shortly after the signing on Monday, Governor Brown said, and we quote, "In the end, I was left to reflect on what I would want in the face of my own death. I do not know what I would do if I were dying in a prolonged and excruciating pain. I am certain, however, that it would be a comfort to be able to consider the options afforded by this bill, and I wouldn't deny that right to others." The right to die debate has been going on for many years, most famously spearheaded by Dr. Jack Kevorkian. But the debate was reignited most recently with Brittany Mayard's story. That's a 29-year-old from California with terminal brain cancer who decided to move to Oregon to end her life. Before she died last November, Maynard told California lawmakers that terminally ill people should not have to leave home to avoid the pain and suffering of a long, drawn-out death. They should have the right to die with dignity.
The way that I would die, just according to this disease, is terrible. The availability of being able to take a medication that allows me to slip into a sleep in 5 minutes and pass away most likely within the half hour sounds a lot better to me.
Well, we wanted to find out what some of you thought about this, so we hit the streets of New York, and here's what people with an active pulse had to say.
Personally, I think it should be legal. Yeah. I think it's not up to the government to make a choice of people and how they actually control their lives. So it's unfortunate people reach that decision, and hopefully they have help to prevent it. But if it comes to it, it's their choice.
I don't think it should be legalized national-wise because I don't think one should decide whether he wants to die right away. And that could be a mental situation because he's feeling or she's feeling a lot of pressure or maybe upset.
I don't really think it should be legalized because it's very stupid and it's basically encouraging people to kill themselves.
I believe in the freedom to choose. I believe in agency as long as it doesn't affect other people. In that situation, the doctor is the one that has to perform the assisted suicide. So again, it becomes very ethical. It's an issue where he may feel like that is unethical.
Yes, because it's giving a peaceful way for a person to go over to the next world easier. These people shouldn't have to suffer if they don't want to be here anymore. It's just up to them.
If you're in a lot of pain and you really want to, for justified reasons, you should be able to kill yourself. That's suicide, but if extreme pain, not crazy suicide, but I agree with it.
It should be legal for some extreme cases, yes. If someone with dignity wants to decide to end his life because there's no other way, well, why not?
Okay, so let's go to the rabbi in the house who unfortunately has had to stand over patients that when they're at the end of life. So you probably have the best perspective on this of anybody here.
I don't know about best. I actually think, I don't say this often, Jerry Brown got it 100% right. It's a matter of humility and how much pain should someone else have to endure. The only thing I don't like about this law is the idea that to do this is death with dignity, but to fight to the end and live with the pain is not dignified. As far as I'm concerned, people reaching informed decisions that help them transition from life to whatever comes next, that's what dignity is. And no one has a right to look at another person and tell them how much pain they should endure. I don't believe suicide is appropriate. I don't think this is suicide. These are literally dead people walking. The person who said on the street about what about depression, the law covers that. This is about people. There is no other choice. The only decision at that point is who has the right to look at another person and tell them this is how much pain you should endure as you die.
A critic would tell you that no one has the right to play God, and when God takes that person, that's when...
Right, so here's the thing, we're all playing God. When you go into an ER and you put paddles on someone's chest, you're playing God. The issue is, can you play God and not pretend you are God? What this law says is, When you know you're not God and there's nothing left to do and there is no other life to fight for, how can you actually take on the role of a merciful God and give people an informed way of ending things with a level of painlessness they can't otherwise have? So I agree. This takes remarkable humility. It's about playing God, which is what we're all here to do, whether we believe in God or not, and knowing we're not God. So it takes a measure of humility and a measure of compassion. Right now, the compassion people aren't great on humility. The humility people aren't great on compassion. This law could actually bring us together.
Naomi, could you see other states following here?
Absolutely, and you know, if you think about it from separate from the humane argument here, there's also a financial argument. You know, the families have to take on. Listen, we all have elderly. We have a growing elderly population. The cost of being on a deathbed is very expensive, and it's a hindrance on families. And I think that that's also something to consider.
Good stuff, Ben. Last
just
word.
one point on that. I would say I just hope that this isn't something that's publicly funded, because if we're leaving it up to the individual, society shouldn't have to support taking a life potentially if individuals are against it.
Okay, we'll have to end it on that note. So we want you to share your thoughts on the End of Life Option Act. You do this by going to newsmaxtv.com/comments. That's newsmaxtv.com/comments. Coming up next, we're going to read some of your comments, so don't go anywhere. This is where things get quite interesting.